بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله الناصح الأمين اللهم صل على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين ثم أما بعد الحمد لله. We continue going over this tremendous book, Kitab Aqeedatut Tawheed, by the Fadilatul Shaykh Al-Allama Shaykh Salih Al-Fawzan, Hafidhahullah Ta'ala. We are still on the third chapter, dealing with the Tawheed of the Asma' wa Sifat, the Tawheed of the names and attributes of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. We covered the first two sections, the first section being the proofs and the evidence from the book and the sunnah and from the intellect that point to the establishment of the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we covered the second section, which is the methodology of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah as relates to the names and attributes of Allah Jalla wa Ala. And now we have come to the third section, which is a refutation upon those who deny the names and attributes of Allah Jalla wa Ala, or a refutation upon those who deny some of them. So refutation upon those who deny the names and attributes of Allah in totality, and a refutation upon those who deny them partially, who deny some of them. And this chapter is very important, or this section, this third section of the third chapter, is very, very important that we understand it correctly. So bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, we're going to take our time and go through it bit by bit. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. If there are any questions, please just give an indication, inshallah ta'ala, and we'll try to deal with them as they arise, inshallah. But I need everyone to pay very close attention and to take very, very good notes, because inside of this chapter we will go over, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, those individuals who deny the names and attributes of Allah, and they break down into three different categories, and we will discuss the premise and the reason that they deny the names and attributes of Allah Jalla wa Ala, so that we understand what has led them astray. And then the Shaykh, he will refute these individuals and show who their Salaf are, and show how they are incorrect in their premise is batil, is false, and it is erroneous from a number of standpoints. So I need everyone to pay very, very, very close attention. So the Shaykh, he says, ثالثا الرد على من أنكر الأسماء والصفات أو أنكر بعضها. He said, as a refutation upon those who deny the names and attributes in totality, and or upon those who deny some of them. The Shaykh, he says, الذين ينكرون أسماء الله والصفات والذين ينكرون أسماء والصفات ثلاثة أصناف. That those who deny the names and the attributes, they are three different categories, three different types. There are three different types. The first of them, Al-Jahmiyyah. They're like the Jahmiyyah. وهم أتباع Jahm bin Safwan, and they are the followers of Jahm bin Safwan. Jahm bin Safwan, he is the founder of the Jahmiyyah sect, and that's why it's called Jahmiyyah, because it's named after its founder. And as an important point is that you will find that all of the deviant sects, they have a founder. And a lot of times the sect is named after that founder. And in those cases where they're not necessarily named after the founder, you still find that they have a founder. And this is a telltale sign that this is something that's innovated, because it has a founder that has come after the Prophet ﷺ, and he came up with this group, came up with this sect. So therein is an indication that they're upon batil. This is upon bid'ah. Jahm bin Safwan. Jahm bin Safwan. These first types of Jahmiyyah, هؤلاء ينكرون أسماء وصفات جميعا. These type, the Jahmiyyah, they deny the names and the attributes of Allah in totality. They deny them in totality. They don't believe in any of them. The Jahmiyyah, they don't believe in any of the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, this is the first type. The second type is like the Mu'tazila. The Mu'tazila. وهم أتباع واصل bin Ata. And they are the followers of Wasil bin Ata. Or bin Ata. And he was the one الذي اعتزل مجلس الحسن البصري. And he is the one who he stayed away from, and he ostracized the sittings of Hassan al-Basri. And because they made this i'tizal, because they made this boycotting or this ostracization of the majlis of Hassan al-Basri, this is why they called the Mu'tazila. This is why they're called the Mu'tazila. Those who they ostracized the sittings of Hassan al-Basri, so they were called the Mu'tazila. I'tazila, فَسُمُّوا مُعْتَزِلًا. They stayed away, so they were called those who stayed away. فَهَؤُلَاءِ يُثْبِتُونَ أَسْمَاء. I want you to pay close attention. These ones, they affirm the names على أنها ألفاظ مجردة عن المعاني. They affirm the names, but from the standpoint that they are just words that are devoid of meaning. Okay, so they affirm the names, the asma, from the standpoint that they are just words that are devoid of any type of meaning. وَيُنْفُونَ الصِّفَاتِ كُلَّهَا. But they deny all of the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They deny all of the attributes. So as far as the names, they quote unquote affirm the names from the standpoint that they're only words that have no meaning. They're words that are devoid of meaning. Right? But when it comes to the attributes, they deny them in totality. They deny the attributes in totality. So the first type, deny all the names and attributes. The second type, affirm the names, but from the standpoint that they have no meaning. They affirm the names from the standpoint that they are devoid of meaning, but with regards to the attributes, they deny them all. And this is like the Mu'tazila. The Mu'tazila. Now, this is from the Aqeedah of the Mu'tazila. And the third type is like the Asha'ira wa Maturidiyya. These two groups and those who follow them, وَمَنْ تَبَعَهُمْ فَهَؤُلَاءِ يُثْبِتُونَ الْأَسْمَاءِ وَبَعْضُ الصِّفَاتِ. These ones, they affirm the names and some of the attributes. They affirm the names and some of the attributes. Shaykh Uthaymeen, rahimahullah ta'ala, in last week's class, we went over what Shaykh Uthaymeen, he mentioned those attributes that they affirm. And they are the following. As it comes in the lines of poetry, حَيٌّ عَلِيمٌ قَدِيرٌ وَكَلَامٌ لَهُ إِرَادَةٌ وَكَذَلِكَ السَّمْعُ وَالْبَصْرُ. These are the only attributes they affirm. is that Allah is alive, He is the living, the all living, He is the all knowledgeable, He is the all capable, He speaks, He has a will, and that He hears and He sees. That's it. That's all they affirm for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As far as the other attributes of Allah ta'ala, they deny them. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. Naam. And remember we said that every name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala points to an attribute. Every name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala points to an attribute. Naam. And then you have those attributes that don't have names. You have those attributes that there are no names attached to them. You understand? So we understand from this standpoint that what they are denying is tremendous. But just to deny one name and attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going too far. It's too much. Naam. We have no right to do that. Ala kulli hal, the Shaykh goes on and he says, and it's very important, this is the premise that they built their Aqeedah upon. This is the premise. So I want everyone to understand what we're about to mention is batil. What we're about to mention is erroneous, it's false. Because this is the false premise that these groups build their Aqeedah upon. This is the reason why these groups deny the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala either partially or in totality, based upon this false principle. So it's important we understand that this is a false principle. It's batil. The Shaykh says, وَشُبْهَا الَّتِي بَنُوا عَلَيْهَا جَمِيعًا مَذَاهِبِهِمْ. And the principle or the doubt that they build upon it, the totality of their madhahibahum, that they build upon it their way, their madhab, their false sects, here firar min tashbih Allah bil khalq bi za'mihim. It is their running away from likening Allah to His creation as they see it or as they understand. As they understand. Is their attempt to not liking Allah to His creation. This is what has led them to their falsehood. Naam. And I want you to pay close attention to this. And this is why knowledge is so important. Because the shaitan, he will attack you from the right path. He will attack you from Sirat al-Mustaqim. Because we know that it is binding upon us that we do not liken Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to His creation, or vice versa. We know that's binding upon us. So shaitan, he preyed upon this concept. And instead of bringing them to what is correct, right? Because that's a shaitan. Shaitan's not going to do that. He misguided them from this standpoint. By saying Allah is not like His creation, right? Okay, so therefore you have to deny the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But he attacked them from this standpoint. So it's important, this bab is very important that we understand it correctly. Because there are many people who are out there, they may not call themselves Jahmi, they may not say that they're Mu'tazili or Ash'ari, but they will teach this Aqeedah. This Aqeedah of denial of Allah's names and attributes is widespread throughout the Masajid. It's widespread. Widespread. And the Masajid Ahlul Bid'ah, which are many and numerous, you will find this being taught all the time. Denial of the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they'll come and they'll say, oh, it is figurative, or it's an allegory, allegorical, and all this type of stuff, and they try to speak them away. Or they will just deny it. No, that we don't understand what that means. It has no meaning. Nah, but they won't come and tell you, oh, that they're Ash'ari or Maturidi or like this. No, they won't give you that courtesy. They won't tell you that they're Mu'tazili, or Jahmi. They won't tell you this. But they'll give you the Aqeedah of these groups. Right here. So it's from the standpoint that they're trying to not liking or resemble Allah to His creation. And from their premise, لأن مخلوقين يسمون ببعض تلك الأسماء. They say because created things are named with some of these names. ويوصفون بتلك الصفات. And they are يعني attributed with these attributes. And they are attributed with these attributes. Naam. They say because the creation are given some of these names and they have some of these attributes. You with me? So they think, because that's the haq. The creation, we have some of those names and we have some of those attributes, as we're going to come to and see. That's the haq. But what their false premise is that they believe فَلْيَلْزَمُوا مِنْ الْإِشْتِرَاقِ فِي اللَّفْظِ الْإِسْمِ وَالصِّفَةِ وَمَعْنَاهُمَا. So they believe that there has to be a sharing, that if the name is shared, this is what they believe. If the name and attribute is shared, and the meaning is shared, اشتراك في حقيقتهما, then they believe that the reality is shared. This is their false premise. This is from their false premise. Is that what? Is they believe that if the name and the attribute and the meaning in general is the same, then that means the reality of those things is also the same. And this premise is completely false. So they say, وَهَذَا يَلْزَمُ مِنْهُ تَشْبِيهُ الْمَخْلُوقِ بِالْخَالِقِ فِي نَظْرِهِمْ. So they believe in their false philosophy and their false theory is that what? Is that this will necessitate resembling Allah, or resembling Allah to the creation, or resembling the creation to the creator. This is what they believe. This is totally false. Because as we touched upon in the last week's class, because the name of a thing is shared does not mean that the reality is shared. Right? Because if the name of something is shared does not mean that the reality is shared. Likewise, because an attribute of something is shared does not mean the reality of that attribute is shared. And we gave the example for the name face. Right? Face. Human beings have a face, correct? And we mentioned in last week's class that what? That also monkeys have a face. But are the reality of those faces the same? Do these faces look the same? No. We mentioned that the surface of the clock is called what? A face. But is that face, the reality of that face, like the reality of his face? No. They're different. So just because the name is shared does not mean the reality is shared. So already we see from their premise is false. They build their aqeedah upon a false premise, upon a false foundation. And this is why they went astray. Likewise, as far as the attributes, we mentioned that human beings have the attribute of sight. We can see, right? And also, eagles have the attribute of sight. They also can see. But is the reality of the way we see like the reality of the way the eagle sees? No. The eagle sees way better than a human being. Way better than a human being. Right? And then you have other animals who their eyesight is way less than a human being. Now, even inside of this room right now, you have amongst the human beings those who are the reality of our eyesight is not the same. I wear spectacles, glasses. Now, there are brothers I'm looking at inside the room who have no glasses. So your vision is 20/20. The reality of how you see and how I see is different. It's different. You understand? When I peer over my glasses like now, the world is blurry to me. You understand? The world is blurry. If there are brothers way in the back, I can't tell you who that brother is because I can't see the features on his face. You understand? So the reality of how you see and I see without the spectacle is different. Now, and even with the specs on, I'm pretty sure some of you still got better sight than me. You understand? So the attribute is the same, but the reality is different. But the reality is different. So this is very important to understand. But based upon their false premise, they believe that if the name is the same, and the attribute is the same, and the general meaning is the same, then the reality is the same. So therefore you're likening what the creation to the creator. So therefore, the Shaykh, he says, so therefore they are stuck. Because of their false premise, they are stuck to do one or two things when it comes to the names and the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is, either they will make ta'weel. The Shaykh, he says, أَمَّا تَأْوِيلُ النُّصُوصِ الْأَسْمَاءِ وَالصِّفَاتِ عَنْ ظَاهِرِهَا, that they will make a ta'weel. They will alter the meaning of the text bearing the names and the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from its apparent meaning. They will change the meaning. Right? They will change the meaning. Because based upon their premise, they have nowhere to go. It's where they're going to go. Either here or they're going to go there. So the first thing that their false premise will lead them to is to do what? To alter the meanings of the names and the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Shaykh, he says, as an example, they'll say that the wedge means bidat, yani ta'weel al-wedge bidat. They'll say that face means his essence. So when it's talking about the face, it really means his essence. Right? This is their ta'weel. Or they'll say that the yad, that hand, means bi ni'ma, his bounty. His bounty. Right? That hand means bounty. So they changed the meaning from hand to bounty, from face to essence. So this is the first yani corruption that this false premise will bring an individual to alter the meanings of the names and the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as an example is given. The second is that وَإِمَّا التَّفْوِيض مَعَانِي هَذِهِ النُّصُوص إِلَى اللَّهِ تَعَالَى, is that they will refer the meanings of these texts to Allah Ta'ala. So they will refer the meanings of these texts to Allah Ta'ala. So it will come hand, face, and the like, and it will refer the meaning to Allah Ta'ala. فَيُقُولُونَ, so therefore they say, Allahu a'lam bimaradihi minha. They will say Allah knows best and what He intends from it. مع اعتقادهم أنها ليست على ظاهرها. But this is coupled with their belief that is not upon its apparent meaning. So they'll say, if it comes a text saying that Allah has a face, has a hand, they'll say, we don't know what face and hand means, but we know it don't mean what the apparent meaning points to. So they deny the apparent meaning and they refer whatever it means to Allah Ta'ala. Allah A'lam what it means. This is what they say. It doesn't mean what it says it means, and Allahu A'lam what it really means. To put it in other terms, yeah.
You said in Arabic it's tafweed?
Nah, tafweed. Nah. So this is the false direction that it brings them to. Either they're going to do this or they're going to do that. Now, either they're going to do this or they're going to do that. But yeah. And this is the problem, because their false premise leads them to deny the names and the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wa ya'udhu billah. Wa ya'udhu billah. The Shaykh, he mentions, so now let us see who was the Salaf for these people. Who was their Salaf? The Shaykh, he says, فَأَوَّلْ مَنْ عُرِفَ عَنْهُ إِنْكَارُ أَسْمَاء وَصِفَاتِ بَعْدَ الْمُشْرِكِي الْعَرَبِ. The Shaykh, he says, and the first ones who were known to deny the names and the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then there were some of the polytheists from the Arab. Who were the first ones to deny the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The polytheists from the Arab. The Shaykh, he says, الَّذِينَ أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فِيهِمْ قَوْلُهُ. The ones whom Allah Ta'ala He sent down as relates to them His statement. كَذَلِكَ أَرْسَلْنَاكَ فِي أُمَّةٍ قَدْ خَلَتْ مِنْ قَبْلِهَا Allah Ta'ala says what means, and likewise we have sent, or and like this we have sent you to a nation who there had preceded from before them nations. لِتَتْلُوَ عَلَيْهِمُ الَّذِي أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَيْكَ, so that you may recite to them that which has been revealed unto you. وَهُمْ يَكْفُرُونَ بِالرَّحْمَنِ, and they disbelieve in Ar-Rahman. They disbelieve in Ar-Rahman. Naam. This ayah can be found in Surah Ar-Ra'd, in its verse 30. This is why it's very important for us to learn the tafsir of the ayat and the asbabun nuzul. The asbabun nuzul, these are the reasons why the ayat were revealed. The reasons why the ayat were revealed. Naam. Because if a person just read this ayah, he may understand that they disbelieve in Ar-Rahman, that they disbelieve in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they do disbelieve in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Allah ta'ala, inside of this ayah, is speaking about something that is specific, about something that is specific and is going to become known. The Shaykh, he says, وَسَبَبُ نُزُولَ هَذِهِ الْآيَةِ, and the reason that this ayah came down, أَنَّ قُرَيْشًا نعم أن قريشا لما سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يذكر الرحمن أنكروا ذلك. He said because the Quraysh, when they heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioning Ar-Rahman, the name of Allah Ta'ala, Ar-Rahman, they denied it. They denied Ar-Rahman. فأنزل الله تعالى فيهم, so Allah Ta'ala, He sent down as relates to them, وَهُمْ يَكْفُرُونَ بِالرَّحْمَنِ, and they disbelieve in Ar-Rahman. Right? Because when they heard the Prophet ﷺ mentioning the name Ar-Rahman, they denied it. They didn't believe in Ar-Rahman. وَذَكَرَ ابن جرير رحمه الله تعالى أن ذلك في صلح حديبية, and the great Imam Ibn Jarir, he mentioned that this was during the treaty of Hudaybiyah, when they were writing the peace treaty of Al-Hudaybiyah. This is when they denied the name Ar-Rahman. حين كتب كاتب في قضية الصلح الذي جرى بينهم وبين الرسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بسم الله الرحمن. And this is when the writer who was writing up the terms of the peace treaty, he wrote on the peace treaty, the peace treaty that's between those polytheists and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He wrote on it in the name of Allah, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Naam. So when the Quraysh, when they saw that, قال القريش, the Quraysh, they said, أما الرحمن فلا نعرفه. They said, as far as Rahman, we don't know him. This is what the Quraysh said. This is what the Quraysh said. They said, as far as Rahman, we don't know him. We don't know him. So they denied what? The name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ar-Rahman. So this is why Allah Ta'ala, He says, وَهُمْ يَكْفُرُونَ بِالرَّحْمَنِ, and they disbelieve in Ar-Rahman. Does the ayah make more sense now that you know that the sabab, the reason that it came down is more clear, right? طيب. وروي ابن جرير, and also the Jarir rahimahullah ta'ala, he brings also as a narration, he narrates also and Ibn Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, on the authority of Ibn Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يدعو ساجدا, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to supplicate to Allah when he was making sujood, or while prostrating, while making sujood. يقول, he used to say, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. Naam. And the Quraysh, they heard this. The polytheists, they heard this. وَقَالَ الْمُشْرِكُونَ, so the polytheists, they said, هذا يزعم أنه يدعو واحدا وهو يدعو مثنى. They said that this is what the polytheists, they came and they said after they heard the Prophet ﷺ saying, O Rahman, O Rahim, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. They said this one thinks that he is calling upon one when in fact he is calling upon two. This is what the Qur'an said. This is what the polytheists said. that he thinks he is calling upon one, but really he's calling upon two. This is because they don't understand. They're ignorant. They're polytheists. They don't know. Right? So Allah Ta'ala refuted them. فَأَنزَلَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى. So Allah Ta'ala, He revealed. قُلِ ادْعُوا اللَّهَ أَوْ ادْعُوا الرَّحْمَنِ. Allah Ta'ala revealed, and call upon Allah or call upon Ar-Rahman. أَيَّمَا تَدْعُوا فَلَهُ الْأَسْمَاءُ الْحُسْنَى. Whichever one of them you supplicate with it, it belongs to Him the most beautiful names. So any one of His names you supplicate with, it's okay, because to Allah belongs the most beautiful names. So if you call upon Ar-Rahman, you're calling upon Allah Ta'ala. If you're calling upon Ar-Rahim, you're calling upon Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. You're calling upon Al-Alim, you're calling upon Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. You call upon Al-Halim, you're calling upon Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Because they're all the beautiful names of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So whichever name you use to call upon Allah Ta'ala, you're calling upon Allah Ta'ala with His names. So Allah Ta'ala refuted what these ones had falsely understood. And this is ayah, it can be found in Surah Al-Isra, and it's verse 110. Verse 110. Now, for you. وقال تعالى في سورة الفرقان. Allah Ta'ala, He says in Surah Al-Furqan, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمُ اسْجُدُوا لِلرَّحْمَنِ قَالُوا مَا الرَّحْمَنِ. And this can be found in Surah Furqan, in verse 60. Allah Ta'ala says, and when it said to them, prostrate yourselves to Ar-Rahman, they say, and who was Rahman? You see the disrespect of the polytheists. They're called upon to prostrate themselves to Ar-Rahman, and their response is, and who was Rahman? A'udhu billah. A'udhu billah. فَهَؤُلَاءِ الْمُشْرِكُونَ. So now, we see that the polytheists, they were the first to deny the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Shaykh, he says, فَهَؤُلَاءِ الْمُشْرِكُونَ هُمْ سَلَفُ الْجَهْمِيَّةِ وَالْمُعْتَزِلَةِ وَأَشَاعِرَةِ. He says, so that these polytheists, they are the Salaf for the Jahmiyyah, they are the Salaf for the Mu'tazila, they are the Salaf for the Asha'ira. وَكُلُّ مَنْ نَفَى عَنِ اللَّهِ ما أثبته لنفسه أو أثبته له رسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم من أسماء الله وصفاته. The Shaykh, he says, and they are the Salaf for everyone who denies from Allah that which He has affirmed for Himself. And I want you to understand that sentence, that these individuals, they deny from Allah that which He has affirmed for Himself. So think about this in reality. Who will have the audacity to deny from Allah that which He has affirmed for Himself? Who knows better, you or Allah? Who knows more about Allah, you or Allah? Allah. Allah knows better. Allahu a'lam. Allah knows the most. The all-knowing is Allah Ta'ala. Na'am. So if Allah has affirmed something, who are you to deny it from Him? Who knows better about Allah, you or the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has affirmed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala names and attributes. Who are you to deny them? Who knows better, you or the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam knows better than you. Naam. So you find, who are the Salaf for these groups who deny the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? They are the polytheists. So anybody who the polytheist is a Salaf is not somebody who we want to follow. Nah? It's not a methodology that we want to adopt and adorn for ourselves. So the Shaykh, he says, for bi's al-Salaf li bi's al-Khalaf. He said, and what a most despicable of Salaf for a most despicable of Khalaf. What a most despicable of predecessors for the most despicable followers. What the most evil and worse and despicable predecessors for most despicable followers. You see, because filth bred filth.
So one is affirm Rahim but not Rahman.
Allah. Allah.
It make no sense.
No, it doesn't. Nah. طيب. So that makes sense? Because even that right there is enough as a refutation upon them. Right? Even that right there is enough as a refutation upon them. But the Shaykh is gonna bring more. He's gonna bring more to destroy them from a number of angles. The first angle, which refutes these groups that deny the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or these groups that they try to alter the meaning of the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or those who try to say that there is no meaning. Right? The first standpoint, the first thing as a refutation upon them, or the first aspect, is from the standpoint and the aspect of أن الله سبحانه وتعالى أثبت لنفسه أسماء وصفات وأثبتها له رسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has affirmed for Himself names and attributes. Likewise, His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam has affirmed for Him names and attributes. نعم. فنفيها عن الله أو نفي بعضها نفي لما أثبته الله ورسوله هذا محادة لله ورسوله. It says that, and to deny that which Allah, and to deny them, to deny the names and the attributes from Allah Ta'ala, or to deny some of them, to deny them in totality or to deny them partially, is to deny that which Allah and His Messenger have affirmed. Is to deny that which Allah and His Messenger have affirmed. And we mentioned this just shortly, right? A little while ago. This is what we mentioned. Or from the Shaykh, what the Shaykh he mentioned. Naam. And the Shaykh he highlights here that to deny that which Allah and His Messenger sallallahu have affirmed for Allah is to contradict Allah and His Messenger. Is to contradict Allah and His Messenger. Naam. Who in their right mind will think it's from wisdom and is good and goodly to contradict Allah and His Messenger? Who would think that? No, it's bad. To contradict Allah and His Messenger is bad. But this is what they do when they deny the names and the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the first standpoint, which is refutation upon them. When they come and they say, oh no, Allah does not have these names and these attributes, or that it means this or it means that, it's not upon its apparent meaning, and so on and so forth, then they are denying what Allah has affirmed for Himself. They are denying what His Messenger has affirmed for Him. They are contradicting Allah and His Messenger. They are contradicting Allah and His Messenger. Naam. To those who say, no, it's figurative, it's allegorical, and so on and so forth, they're contradicting Allah and His Messenger. Because did Allah Ta'ala inform us that it's figurative and allegorical? No. Did the Prophet ﷺ explain that to us? No. So they're contradicting Allah and His Messenger. The second standpoint, which destroys their premise, أنه لا يلزم من وجود هذه الصفات في المخلوقين أو من تسمى بعض المخلوقين بشيء من تلك الأسماء المشابهة بين الله وخلقه. It's very, very important point. Is that it is not necessitated that the existence of these attributes inside of created things, or the naming of some of the created things with these names, necessitates a likening between Allah and His creation. Does not necessitate a likening between Allah and His creation. Now, because as we explained, just because the name is shared doesn't mean the reality is shared. Just because a name is shared does not mean the reality is shared. Just because an attribute is shared does not mean that the reality of that attribute is shared. Naam. طيب. The Shaykh says, فَإِنَّ لِلَّهِ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى أَسْمَاءً وَصِفَاتٍ تَخُصُّهُ. Because Allah Ta'ala, He has names and attributes that are specific to Him. He has names and His attributes that are specific to Him. وَلِلْمَخْلُوقِينَ أَسْمَاءً وَصِفَاتُ خُصُّهُمْ. And that the creation, they have names and attributes that are specific to them. Or, to word it better and translate it better, Allahu Ta'ala, He has names and He has attributes that are appropriate for Him. And likewise, the creation, they have names and attributes that are appropriate for them. Does that make sense? Now, Allah has names and attributes that are appropriate for Him, Jalla wa'ala. And the creation, they have names and attributes that are appropriate to them. فَكَمَا أَنَّ لِلَّهِ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى ذَاتًا لَا تَشَبَّهُ ذَوَاتِ الْمَخْلُوقِينَ. The Shaykh, he brings a very outstanding example. He said, because just like Allah has an essence, right? Just like Allah has an essence, it is not similar to the essences of the created things. Allah has an essence, but that essence is not similar to the essence, is not the same as the essence of created beings. You with me? Now, no one will come and say, no, they're the same. Nobody that's in his right mind, of course. Now, they're not the same. They're not the same. The Shaykh, he says, فَلَهُ أَسْمَاء وَصِفَاتٍ لَا تَشَبَّهُ أَسْمَاء الْمَخْلُوقِينَ وَصِفَاتِهِ. He says, so Allah Ta'ala has names and attributes, and they are not the same as the names and attributes of the created things, meaning that what? The realities is not the same. The Shaykh, he says, وَالْإِشْتِرَاكِ فِي الْإِسْمِ وَالْمَعْنَى الْعَامِ لَا يُوجَبُ الْإِشْتِرَاكِ فِي الْحَقِيقَةِ. And he reiterates, he said, because the sharing of the name or and of a general meaning does not necessitate the sharing of the reality. Does not necessitate the sharing of the reality. And I want you to understand this, that the sharing of a name and a general meaning does not necessitate the sharing of the reality. And a person, he may come and he say, where do you get that from? What's your dalil upon this principle? Right? Who taught you that? Person, he may come and say that, right? That's a legitimate question. Who taught you that? Where are you getting that from? That's legitimate. What's your dalil? Legitimate. Who taught us this? Allah Ta'ala taught us this. Allah taught us that just because the name and the general meaning is shared, that don't mean the reality is shared. The Shaykh, he brings a few examples. Right? The Shaykh, he brings a few examples. The Shaykh, he says, فَقَدْ سَمَّ اللَّهُ نَفْسَهُ عَلِيمًا حَلِيمًا. He says, Allah, He has called Himself the All-Knower, the one who is forbearant. So Allah has referred to Himself as the one who knows and He's forbearant. Right? Because we understand Aliman, we understand what Alim means. Right? The one who knows everything. We understand what Halim means, the one who's forbearant. طيب. Allah Ta'ala, He has named Himself with these names. You with me? طيب. وَسَمَّى بَعْضَ عِبَادَ عَلِيمًا. And Allah has also named some of His servants Alim. Allah is Al-Alim, right? طيب. Allah has named, He has referred to some of His servants as being Alim. Alim, Alim. Same name, right? Right? What's the dalil? It comes here in Surah Al-Dhariyat. In Surah Al-Dhariyat, verse 28. Allah Ta'ala, He says, وَبَشَّرُوهُ بِغُلَامٍ عَلِيمٍ. And we gave him glad tidings of a knowledgeable son. That he was going to have a knowledgeable son. Right? يعني Ishaq. Meaning Ishaq. Right? Because Ibrahim alayhi salam, he went for many years, he did not have children. No children for many years. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him glad tidings that he will have Ismail. And then after that gave him glad tidings that he will have Ishaq. Right? Wait. So here in the ayat, Allah Ta'ala, He mentions that He gave him glad tidings that he will have a son that is knowledgeable. Meaning, Ishaq. Naam. So Allah Ta'ala, He referred to Ishaq as being what? Alim. Alim. وَسَمَّ آخَرْ حَلِيمًا. And Allah Ta'ala, He called the other one forbearant. Haliman, he was forbearant. Naam. Allah Ta'ala, He says, and this can be found in Surah Safat, in its verse 101, فَبَشَّرْنَاهُ, and we gave him glad tidings, بِغُلَامٍ حَلِيمٍ, we gave him glad tidings that he will have a forbearant son. Forbearant son, yani Ismail, meaning Ismail. So Allah Ta'ala referred to Ismail as being what? Halim. Halim, he was forbearant. That makes sense? But the Shaykh, he says, وَلَيْسَ عَلِيمٌ كَالْعَلِيمِ وَلَا الْحَلِيمُ كَالْحَلِيمِ. The Shaykh, he says, but this one who has knowledge is not like that one who has knowledge, and this one who's forbearant is not like that one who's forbearant. You understand? Because we know that Ismail and Ishaq, they're not like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Allah Ta'ala referred to Ishaq as being knowledgeable. But this one who's knowledgeable is not like that one who's knowledgeable, because Ishaq, with the knowledge he got, is not like what? It's not like Allah and Allah's knowledge, correct? So we understand that what? The reality is not the same. But what is the same? The name. The name is the same. And that name points to what? A meaning. You understand? So you see now, we see an aspect of how Ahlul Bid'ah, they are straight. Because how are you going to come now when Allah calls Himself Alim and say, we don't know, it has no meaning? Okay, if it has no meaning there, then what do we understand now? بِغُلَامٍ عَلِيمٍ. That has no meaning neither? There's no that mean he has knowledge. Okay, so Alim means something in this verse, but it don't mean nothing in that verse. It means something in reference to Ishaq, but doesn't mean anything in reference to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who understands that? Who accepts that? No one. Because we understand it means upon its clear meaning in the Arabic language. Possessor of knowledge. Likewise, with Halim, Allah Ta'ala, He referred to Ismail as being Halim. But this Halim is not like that Halim. Right? So, we know that Ismail, Naam, he's forbearant. Allah Ta'ala has informed us of that. And Allah Ta'ala informed us that He is forbearant. So, we know that Ismail is not like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we understand that the reality of them being forbearant is what? Different. But what's the same? The name. The name is the same. Right? This is one example. Shaykh, he brings a couple more. And this one is sufficient. It's enough. Khalas. But the Shaykh, he brings more to show you how their premise is false. Because the Qur'an don't teach us what they're saying. The Qur'an does not teach us what they're saying. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Shaykh goes on, he says, وَسَمَّى نَفْسَهُ فَقَالَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى. Allah Ta'ala, he named Himself. Allah Ta'ala, He says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا. Allah Ta'ala, He says, and verily Allah, He is the all-hearer, the all-seer. So Allah Ta'ala, He has named Himself with the hearer, the seer. Naam. And then He has the attribute of what? Hearing and sight. وَسَمَّى بَعْضَ عِبَادَ سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا. And Allah has named some of His creatures, some of His slaves, as hearing and seeing. Allah Ta'ala says, إِنَّا خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِنُطْفَةٍ أَمْسَاجٍ نَبْتَلِيهِ فَجَعَلْنَاهُ سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا. Allah Ta'ala says in Surah Al-Insan, verse number 2, and we created the human being from mixed drops of fluids. We created the human beings from mixed drops of fluids. نَبْتَلِيهِ. In order to test him, we made him what? فَجَعَلْنَاهُ سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا. So in order to test him, we made him one who hears and sees. We made him a hearer and a seer. Right? So Allah Ta'ala has called the human being and said the human being is what? A hearer and a seer. طيب, the Shaykh he says, وَلَيْسَ السَّمْعُ كَالسَّمْعِ وَلَا الْبَصْرُ كَالْبَصْرِ. He said, but the hearing of this one is not like the hearing of that one, and the seeing of this one is not like the seeing of that one. Because we hear and we see, right? But does anyone think he hears and sees like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? No way. Hasha lillah. Allah forbid. No way. No way. Na'am. So we understand now what? The reality is different, right? But the name is what? The same. The name is the same. So Allah Ta'ala teaches in the Qur'an that the name can be the same and point to it the same general meaning, but the reality is not the same. The reality is not the same. The Shaykh he brings another example. He says, وَسَمَّى نَفْسَ بِالرَّؤُوفِ الرَّحِيمِ. And Allah Ta'ala he names himself with Ar-Ra'uf, the most kind, Ar-Rahim, the one who shows mercy. Allah Ta'ala he says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ بِالنَّاسِ لَرَّؤُوفُ الرَّحِيمِ. And then verily Allah is unto mankind the most kind and the most merciful, the shower of mercy. And this ayah can be found in Surah Al-Hajj, and it's verse 65. So Allah Ta'ala in this ayah has called himself Ra'ufun Rahimun, the most kind, the most merciful, the bestower of mercy. وَسَمَّى بَعْضَ عِبَادَ رَؤُوفًا رَحِيمًا. And he has named some of his slaves as being kind and merciful. نعم. فقال الله تعالى, Allah Ta'ala he says, لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْهِ مَا عَنِتُّمْ حَرِيصٌ عَلَيْكُمْ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَؤُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. This can be found in Surah At-Tawbah, verse 128. Allah Ta'ala says, and verily we have sent unto you لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ. Or verily there has come to you, verily there has come to you مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ, from yourself, a messenger. عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْهِ مَا عَنِتُّمْ. It grieves him much that you shall receive any injury or difficulty. A messenger, right, who's from his characteristic of that, it grieves him much that the believer should receive any type of injury or difficulty. One who is very anxious over you, that good reaches you. One who was unto the believers kind and merciful. So Allah Ta'ala he has referred to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ as being kind and as being merciful. Now, but we know that what the Shaykh says, وَلَيْسَ الرَّؤُوفِ كَالرَّؤُوفِ وَلَا الرَّحِيمِ كَالرَّحِيمِ. He said, but this one who is kind is not like that one who is kind, and this one who shows mercy is not like that one who shows mercy. Right? Because the Prophet ﷺ, he's not like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his kindness and in his mercy. Right? So we see that the reality is what? Different, but the name is what? The same. Now, so just because the name is shared does not mean the reality is shared. And the Shaykh he says, وَكَذَلِكَ الْوَصْفِ وَكَذَلِكَ وَصَفَ نَفْسَ بِالصِّفَاتِ. He said, and also Allah has given himself attributed for himself attributes. وَوَصَفَ عِبَادَهُ بِنَظِيرِ ذَلِكَ. And he has also named his slaves with similar attributes. Mithil, for example, قوله, Allah Ta'ala's statement, وَلَا يُحِيطُونَ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنْ عِلْمِهِ. And they will not encompass anything from his, meaning Allah's knowledge. And this ayah can be found in Surah Al-Baqarah, inside of Ayatul Kursi 255. Now, and they will encompass, and they cannot encompass his knowledge. So Allah Ta'ala has affirmed for himself the attribute of what? knowledge. Now, وَوَصَفَ نَفْسَهُ بِعِلْمٍ. So he's affirmed for himself the attribute of knowledge. وَوَصَفَ عِبَادَ بِالْعِلْمِ. And he has named his slaves with, he has given his slaves the attributes also of knowledge. He has attributed that they also have knowledge. So Allah Ta'ala, He says, وَمَا أُوتِيتُمْ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. And this can be found in Surah Al-Isra, and it's verse 85. Allah Ta'ala, He says, and you have not been given from knowledge except a very little bit. So Allah Ta'ala affirms that us creatures, we have what? Knowledge. Right? وقال الله تعالى, Allah Ta'ala, He says, وفوق كل ذي علم عليم. And above everyone who knows is one who knows more. Now, above everyone who knows is one who knows more. So Allah Ta'ala has affirmed that His creatures, they know, they have ilm. But above everyone who has ilm is who? Al-Alim, is the all-knowing Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So no matter what you reach from knowledge and what you have learned, remember, we have only been given from knowledge a very little bit. That's it. Very little bit. Put things in perspective. This is why you find the ulama, they're not arrogant. They're not arrogant. Because they realize what we have from knowledge is only a little bit. That's it. And above everyone who knows is one who knows more. Naam. Ala kulli hal, Allah Ta'ala has affirmed that the human beings have knowledge. Right? But Allah's knowledge, there's nothing like Allah's knowledge. Our knowledge is not like Allah's knowledge. Right? There's nothing like Allah's knowledge. Now, وقال الله تعالى وقال الذين أوتوا العلم. And those who have been given knowledge, they said, as it comes in Surah Qasas, it's verse 80. وَوَصَفَ نَفْسَهُ. Now, so that's the example of Allah Ta'ala has given, attributed, or described Himself as having knowledge, and He has described His creatures as having knowledge. But the knowledge of this one is not like the knowledge of that one. Also, Allah Ta'ala, He has described Himself that He has power and quwwah. He has might and power. Allah Ta'ala, He says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَقَوِيٌّ عَزِيزٌ. And verily Allah is the owner of power, or the owner of strength, and the Almighty. Naam. Allah Ta'ala, He says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الرَّزَاقُ ذُو الْقُوَّةِ الْمَتِينَ. And that verily Allah, He is the provider, the sustainer, the owner of great power. As it comes in Surah Al-Dhariyat, verse 58. وَوَصَفَ عِبَادَهُ بِالْقُوَّةِ. And Allah Ta'ala, He has described His slaves as having what? Power and strength. Naam. For Allah Ta'ala, He says, Allahu alladhi khalaqakum min ضعف ثم جعل من بعد ضعف قوة ثم جعل من بعد قوة ضعفا وشيبة. Allah Ta'ala, He says, and Allah is the one who has created you, and you were weak, and then He made you after your weakness being strong, having strength, and then He made you after your strength as being weak again, and getting old and having gray hairs. Naam. So Allah Ta'ala has described the human beings as having something from strength. But we know that what? The strength of this one is not like the strength of that one. So the attribute is shared, but the reality of that attribute is not what? Not shared at all. Naam. The Shaykh says, إِلَى غَيْرِ ذَلِكَ. And so other than that, he says, وَمَعْلُومْ أَنَّ الْأَسْمَاءَ اللَّهِ وَصِفَاتَهُ تَخُصُّ وَتَلِيقُ بِهِ. He said, and it is known that the names and the attributes of Allah, they are appropriate for Him, and in a manner that befits Him. وَأَسْمَاءَ الْمَخْلُوقِينَ تَخُصُّهُ وَتَلِيقُ بِهِمْ, and the names and the attributes of the created things, or the names of the created things, they are appropriate for them and they are befitting for them. نعم. ولا يلزم من الاشتراك في الاسم والمعنى الاشتراك في الحقيقة, and it is not necessitated that just because the name and the general meaning is the same, that the reality is also the same, and reality is also shared. وذلك لعدم تماثل بين المسميين والموصوفين وهذا الظاهر والحمد لله. He said, and this is due to the non-existence of a likening between the two that are named, or between the two that are named and the two that are described, right? Because there is no likening between the two that are named and the two that are described, and this is something that is well known. Walillah alhamd. This is clear. Walillah alhamd. Naam. So this understanding. So now that we see that there are names and attributes that Allah Ta'ala has affirmed for Himself, and similarly those names and attributes Allah Ta'ala has affirmed His creation, then we know that the two that are named and the two that are ascribed are not the same. So therefore we understand that just because the name or the attribute is the same, their reality is not the same, just as the two that are ascribed are different, and the two that are named are different. And the Shaykh is saying this is clear. This is, everyone knows this. Now, that's the second standpoint. The third standpoint, the Shaykh he says, أن الذي ليس له صفات كمال لا يصلح أن يكون إلها. I want you to understand this point. It's very, all these points are, subhanAllah. The Shaykh he says, and this is because the one who does not have the most perfect or perfect attributes, then he doesn't deserve to be worshipped. You understand? The one who doesn't have perfect attributes does not deserve to be worshipped. وَلِهَذَا قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ لِأَبِيهِ, and for this Ibrahim, he brought as a proof and evidence against his father. As Allah Ta'ala informs us of what he said, لِمَا تَعْبُدُ مَا لَا يَسْمَعُ وَلَا يُبُصِّرُ. He said, why do you worship that which don't hear and don't see? So Ibrahim used as a hujjah against his father that you're worshipping something that does not hear and does not see. So now what is Ahlul Bid'ah saying? When they're saying about Allah, they deny his names and his attributes. They deny the attribute of Allah Ta'ala hearing and seeing. What are they saying? Are they saying that Ibrahim also worshipped that which didn't hear and see? وَيَعْذُ بِاللَّهِ. Yeah, you understand? But because Ibrahim is used as a proof against his father, is understanding that what Ibrahim he worships a Lord who hears and sees. So he uses it as a proof and evidence that the Creator hears and sees. Why are you worshiping these things that don't hear and see? They don't even hear and see. Why are you worshiping them? Because not hearing and seeing is what? Is a deficiency. Why are you worshiping that which is deficient? A human being who is blind, is he a complete human being, complete man in all of his characteristics in that? No, he's deficient, he's blind, he's limited. He can't hear, he's limited. Sahulillah. So now you see the despicable things what they attributing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وقال الله تعالى في الرد على الذين عبدوا العجل. And Allah Ta'ala, He said in refuting those who were worshipping the calf. Banu Israel, remember they was worshipping the calf. Allah Ta'ala refuted them by saying, أَلَمْ يَرَوْا أَنَّهُ لَا يُكَلِّمُهُمْ وَلَا يَهْدِيهِمْ سَبِيلًا. Allah Ta'ala He says, and this can be found in Surah Al-A'raf in His verse 148. What means? And do they not see that this calf, they don't talk to them and they don't guide them to the way? That this calf that they worshiping, it don't talk to them. This idol don't talk to them. So Allah Ta'ala refuted them because what? Because what they were worshiping did not speak. Did not speak. Right? So that which is not complete in its attributes does not deserve to be worshipped. So we understand that the one who deserves worship is what? Complete in his attributes. So this is from another aspect, another standpoint, how the people of innovation are refuted. Because if this is the case, then what are you saying about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? SubhanAllah. Which brings us to the fourth point, and that is أن إثبات الصفات كمال ونفيها نقص. Because the establishment of the attributes, the perfect attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then this is from perfection, and denying them is from what? Deficiency. Denying them from deficiency. Like we brought the example for the human being, right? The human, meaning from the standpoint of deficiency, that if there's a human and he's missing one of his senses, then he is deficient, he is disabled. And this is even the terminology that is used, correct? Disabled, right? This one is hearing impaired, he's visually challenged, and so on and so forth, because they can't hear, they can't see. This is a deficiency. So this is what is meant by, and denying them is deficiency, is to attribute deficiencies to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is not correct. The Shaykh says, فَالَّذِي لَيْسَ لَهُ صِفَاتٍ. So the one who does not have attributes, إِمَّا مَعْدُومٌ وَإِمَّا نَاقِصٌ. The one who doesn't have attributes, he's either don't exist or he's deficient. If you don't have attributes, they say has no attributes, then that means what? They don't exist. Because what exists except that it has attributes? If you had to describe the bookshelf, you would describe it with descriptions, right? Everything that exists has a description. So if you say about Allah Ta'ala he has no attributes, what do you describe? What are you saying? وَيَعَذُ بِاللَّهِ. So the ulama, they say, if you want to know the definition of that which don't exist, then you know it by how the people of innovation describe their Lord. Where they say Allah is not up, He's not down, He's not left, He's not right, He's not to the front, He's not to the back, so on and so forth. So what are they saying now? What are you describing? Something that don't exist. وَإِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ وَإِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. And the Shaykh, he says, وَاللَّهُ تَعَالَى مُنَزَّهٌ عَنْ ذَلِكَ. And Allah Ta'ala, He is removed from this. He's removed from what they're saying about Him. The fifth standpoint, أَنَّ التَّأْوِيلِ الصِّفَاتِ عَنْ ظَاهِرِهَا. And the Shaykh, he says in the fifth point, is that altering the meaning of the attributes from their apparent meaning, the Shaykh, he says, لَا دَلِيلَ عَلَيْهَا, or لَا دَلِيلَ عَلَيْهِ. There is no proof of this. There's no proof that we are allowed to alter the names and the attributes from their apparent meaning. There's no proof. The Shaykh, he says, فَهُوَ بَاطِل, so therefore it's erroneous. وَتَفْوِيضُ الْمَعْنَاهَا يَلْزَمُ مِنْهُ. I want you to understand this too. So for the ones who they change the name, then we know there's no dalil for this. No dalil for the changing of the name. Okay, what about those who say, or the changing any of the meaning? Those who change the meaning, no dalil. What about those who come and they say, okay, there's a meaning, but we don't know what it means? There's a meaning, we just don't know what it means. Allah a'lam what the meaning means. Listen to this. The Shaykh, he says, وَتَفْوِيلُ مَعْنَاهَا يَلْزَمُ مِنْهُ أَنَّ اللَّهَ خَاطَبَنَا فِي الْقُرْآنِ بِمَا لَا نَفْهَمْ مَعْنَا. He said, if you say that, then what you're saying is that this will necessitate and equate to you saying that Allah addresses us in the Qur'an with those things that we don't understand the meaning. وَمَعَ أَنَّهُ أَمَرْنَا أَن نَدْعُوهُ بِأَسْمَائِهِ. He said, and this is with the fact that Allah has commanded us to call upon Him by way of His names. Allah has commanded us in the Qur'an to call upon Him by way of His names. The Shaykh, he says, فَكَيْفَ نَدْعُو بِمَا لَا نَفْهَمُ مَعْنَا. He said, how are we going to call upon Allah with that which we don't know what it means? How's that? That makes sense. We're going to call upon Allah that we know what it means. Allah Ta'ala is going to address it in the Qur'an with that which don't have no meaning, or no one, we don't understand what it means. The Shaykh, he says, أو أمرنا بتدبير القرآن كله, and Allah كله, and Allah Ta'ala, He has commanded us تدبير القرآن كله, and Allah Ta'ala, He has commanded us to reflect over all of the Qur'an, to reflect over what? All of the Qur'an. The Shaykh, he says, فكيف يأمرنا بتدبير ما لا يفهم معنا. He said, and how are we going to be commanded to contemplate over that which cannot be understood. How's that possible? Do you see the despicable nature of what the people of innovation attribute to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will command us to reflect over that which cannot be reflected over because it cannot be understood. You understand? Subhanallah. Subhanallah. Amma yaqulun. Allah is far above and remove that which they saying. فَتَبَيَّنَ مِنْ هَذَا أَنَّهُ لَا بُدَّ مِنْ إِثْبَاتِ أسماء الله وصفات. He said, and from this standpoint, we understand that it is incumbent upon us to من إثبات أسماء الله وصفات, that we have to affirm the names and the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala على وجه لائق بالله, upon a manner that is appropriate for Allah. And then Shaykh is going to explain to give us more understanding. He says مع نفي مشابهة المخلوقين, and we affirm Allah Ta'ala's names and attributes upon a manner that's befitting to Allah, and we negate likening Allah to the creation. We negate likening Allah to the creation. What's the dalil? The dalil is Allah Ta'ala's statement, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ, there is nothing that is like Him whatsoever. Na'am. وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ, and He is the hearer, the seer. He is the hearer, the seer. Na'am. فَنَفَى عَنْ نَفْسِهِ مُمَاثِلَ الْأَشْيَاءِ, so Allah Ta'ala, He has negated upon Himself that there is anything that is like Him. وَأَثْبَتَ لَهُ السَّمْعِ وَالْبَصَرِ, but He has affirmed at the same time hearing and seeing. So He has affirmed for Himself hearing and seeing, but then Allah Ta'ala tells us what? Before that, there's nothing like Him. So we understand that what? Because human beings are turned from hearing and seeing, that our hearing and seeing is not like Allah's hearing and seeing, because there's nothing like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So just because the name is shared, the reality is not shared. Just because the attribute is shared, the reality is not shared. As we see from this ayah, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ. This is what we understand when we see the names and the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we affirm them upon their meaning, but we understand what? لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. There's nothing like Him. There's nothing like Allah Ta'ala. Allah says He has a face. He has a face. لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ. There's nothing like Allah. وَالنَّفْيَ عَنْ نعم. The Shaykh goes on, he says, فَدَلَّ عَلَى أَنَّ إِثْبَاتُ الصِّفَاتِ لَا يَلْزَمُ مِنْهُ تَشْبِيهٍ. He says, so we understand that affirming the attributes does not necessitate a likening them to Allah Ta'ala or resembling them to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. وعلى وجوب إثبات الصفات مع نفي مشابهة, and it also points us to the fact that we have to affirm the attributes, and we have to negate the likening them likening the creation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or vice versa. وهذا معنى, and this is the statement قول أهل السنة والجماعة في النفي والإثبات في أسماء الله والصفات. نعم, and this is the meaning. I want you to write this down. This is the meaning of the statement of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah when it comes to affirming the names and the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and when it comes to denying from Allah ta'ala that which is to be denied from Him. The statement of Ahlul Sunnah is what? إثبات بلا تمثيل وتنزيه بلا تعطيل. That's our aqidah. إثبات بلا تمثيل وتنزيه bila ta'til. He said is that we affirm it without likening them to we affirm it, or we affirm without likening. We affirm without likening. We negate without denying. We affirm without likening. We negate without denying. Now, إثبات بلا تمثيل تنزيه bila ta'til. We affirm without likening, we negate without denying. So we don't liking Allah Ta'ala to His creation, and we don't deny the names and the attributes of Allah Ta'ala. We don't change their meanings, and we don't liken the creation to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So we believe in the names and attributes of Allah without tahrif, without trying to change the meanings or change the words, without ta'til, without denying either partial or in totality, بلا تكييف وبلا تمثيل, without likening the names and attributes of Allah Ta'ala to the creation, and without likening Allah or without likening the creation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Naam? Make sense? But yep. And then it brings us to the head of the next section or the next chapter. ولكن نتوقف هنا فنكتفي بهذا القدر, وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. جزاكم الله خير.